Hello, my name is Dr. Alana McLaughlin, and I am excited to be sharing with you the way that I work as a naturopathic doctor and what I've added on tools over the years as I have found, kind of gaps along the way, or maybe not even gaps, but just things that help people put the puzzle together a little more clearly when they're still missing something that isn't quite fitting together when they're trying to figure out what's going on in their health. So I do a lot with bioenergetics. I am NES certified practitioner, which this is their device, and they actually just upgraded. I don't have the new one yet. I believe it's coming out in February 2025, and the new one includes red light therapy integrated in. So I'm really excited to get my hands on one of those once they are available. But this one is also incredible for what it's able to do. The NES Energy for Life system is one component I've been using for over 10 years now. And I also include essential oils. I look at nutrition. I look at foundational medicine, movement. I love guiding meditations. I do that every week on Mondays with a couple of people and have been for years. And it's just, we all come out of it so much lighter, more focused, and ready for our week. Journaling is something I've added recently, trying to be consistent every single day because it does make a shift in our mindset. So it's not really about just like giving something and trying to see. It's about this whole body and how we can support ourselves with different things. So I wanted to share a little bit more about the scanning system because it is something you can do from home. They included this, I don't remember how many years ago now, but it used to be you had to scan with either this device or a little one that looked kind of like a mouse that you had to put your hand on. However, frequency is everywhere. Our entire body holds a frequency for who we are. And they're able to measure this down to every cell in our body, every organ system has a different frequency. So there's basically a blueprint of what our body looks like. And then when we scan, it takes and it compares our body to that blueprint. And then it shows where there's a difference. And then what can your body actually put energy into to help overcome whatever's happening, why that is out of sync with the way it should be. So by giving the body the direct frequency, it's information that we can then receive. So our body, because our bodies heal themselves. Like I'm not healing anybody. I'm not treating or curing or diagnosing, or it's you receiving. Same thing with me as I'm working through something. I might take something that supports me. Maybe it's minerals or something that's deficient, or going through that mindfulness practice of emotions or things like that that are out of balance. And then our body is the one that resets though. And so just as an example, if I'm seeing somebody and we're in person, I can scan through this. They're just touching the end of this part here with the silver part. I'll do the scan. And then what you get to see is I'm going to share the screen here. And as I'm sharing, let me get onto this. And the great thing I said about this is that you can scan anytime, every 5 days, and see how are things shifting in your body. It will give you this overview that you can see on the screen right now under energy source. But there is so much information here. So our energy source, it breaks it down: nutrition, hydration, movement, oxygenation, day, night, big field aligners, and then scrolling down, that big field aligner is broken down into grounding, magnetic, equatorial, and vertical. So by looking at this page here, the big field aligner is the big one that often shifts out, and you can see kind of that blue that popped up. Relationship between the body field, so my frequency, and all of the energetic fields around us. So when we're grounded, when we're centered, when our nervous system is calm and balanced, our big field aligners will essentially be balanced as well. If you're somebody like myself, they'll often be shifted off. This one, the vertical, I'm looking at particularly like nervous system being balanced. Am I calm? Am I, always being centered? Or are there things that tend to pull me off and I feel just kind of out of sorts? So stress can be this, different events. If it's more of like a grounding, it's like, are we doing Epsom salt baths? Are we walking barefoot outside? A lot of us can't necessarily do that right now. But are we doing things that actually make us feel like everything is stable? And then as we're looking through these others, I'm looking at, how well is our how our system's working in those areas. So that's just kind of an intro into areas where we receive and balance our energy and we get energy from every single day. How are those doing? Over here, it shows us as we're looking at the scan, if it's clear, it's not something we're paying attention to right now, that our body is either balanced or it's not the top priority. And then as we move further over, green is low priority, then it moves to yellow, orange, and purple is the high priority. So some will say, oh my gosh, is that a bad thing? Well, no, it shows that there's something out of balance, but also that our body has the energy to put into that system right now as well. So I'm not going to go through everything on this scan because there's way too much information that would take hours and hours. But as people are looking at this and getting your scan, is going from the energy source and then going all the way over to the other side to recommendations. And under recommendations, as we scroll down, it's going to take the entire scan and summarize what are the top 5 priorities that my body can use right now. So for example, that big field aligner I just showed you is the top one on here. And then as we go down, we have the energetic driver 7 for the lung, energetic integrator 9, which is triple burner. This is integrating within the system a lot of Chinese medicine ideas. The founder, Peter Fraser, he worked with Harry Massey, who was at the time very sick. He was a young man, but he got adrenal, basically, it'd be probably labeled somewhat nowadays as like adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout, to where he was bedridden, he couldn't get up and move. And they were on separate continents at the time. They were like communicating back and forth. But Peter Fraser's background was in physics as well as Chinese medicine. So he integrated these systems together when he created, the original version of the My Health device and the infoceuticals, which are the imprinted waters that carry these frequencies to help us reset. So as I'm looking through my scan, I see the next one on here, energetic star 5 for autoimmunity, energetic star 9 audio. And as I go back to the scan, now I can take a look and see, I already looked at the big field aligner. So then I go to energetic driver, which I know that energetic drivers are under this energy strength tab. So I would click on that. And then I'm going to go into this energetic driver 7 for the lung field. So this one, it will give you a summary in the little blue box if you hover over it. And then as we scroll down, it will give you a lot more information. So that's why I say focus on just these top 5 points. You can read through how this might be expressing in your body. And then as you scroll down, you'll see this action step. So action, connect with your breath. In what ways could I improve my breathing? What inspires me? How could my emotions be affecting my breathing? What have I lost that I continue to grieve for? Consider with your practitioner whether pollution, infection, or grief could be affecting your lungs. So you also see within the system, and then under these go for it options, that there's going to be a mind component, a body component, emotion component. And it is really who we are. So it's integrating a lot of different levels. And then it shows the infoceutical again at the bottom that we can actually take to help strengthen that frequency in our body. But it also gives us, meditation, natural air purifiers. If you actually do have, respiratory difficulties with breathing or things like that. Yoga, cat and cow pose, triangle pose, for opening up the lungs and diaphragm, really opening up as we're going through those poses. So observing your breathing. Do we hold our breath during the day? Are we actually breathing? Or when we're stressed, do we find ourselves holding and then you're like, releasing? So I love that this gives us, things that we can do in the moment. And then the next one that I had on there was an integrator. So I'm going to go down. The integrators are under energy flow. And as I look at this, EI9 is thyroid triple burner. And my background in some of the Chinese medicine, I studied 2 years in a program while I was doing my first couple of years of naturopathic medicine. And so I know some of these foundations that the lungs, like we just talked about, are kind of, they mentioned grief. They're about how like the flow within our system. And then in this one, triple burner is our like abundant energy. And this gives kind of a breakdown. Lateral ventricle field comes up as a 4. And this doesn't mean, this is not diagnostic. It doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with my brain. This is my scan, so I'm not using like somebody's, but it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It means that the frequency doesn't match up with the blueprint, and that there's something in there that's impacting, like that matching like the perfect blueprint of how it should be. But it can give us some ideas of where we can work on if we're like finding ourselves kind of stuck. And the other part is these are all relative. So my orange and purple are going to be closer to my clear and green than somebody who maybe has a really long list of things happening in their body, that they are really having struggle with energy and lots of different things happening. Theirs are going to be a lot farther apart. So this is relative. We're always going to have oranges and purples, no matter how healthy we are. As long as we're living and breathing, we're going to have oranges and purple on the scan, because we're always fine tuning, right? We're always coming up against different things in our environment. So that's what the integrators look like. And then I'm going to go, this energetic immunity part is in here, because I didn't have any in the energetic immunity. But this would be the next one. These are called terrains, or energetic terrains. And then I did have some in the stars, though. The next one's over. Energetic stars. So I have autoimmunity, chill, and audio. And I purposely took this one this morning because I was feeling a little bit, just overwhelmed. Being at home with kids, doing some work while in with kids can be very challenging at times. So like, I wonder what it looks like on my skin. And it does show up that I'm like needing to just take that breath and be able to relax and release and really, literally like chill out. Like, it's okay, breathe. So that showed up in a couple places, in the scan under lung, as well as in here in chill. And then some of the deeper, though, this autoimmunity, I don't necessarily have any specific diagnoses, but I know over time, like autoimmunity is all about our body balancing and incorporating and, being as healthy as we can be. So is our body, as I click on this and then scroll down, I can look and see, they label it as cell-destroying mechanisms of your immune system. When these mechanisms go awry, mistakenly attacking healthy cells, they can have wide-ranging negative effects on the body, particularly in your joints. They can also lead to allergic reactions. So this can be showing up in just an imbalance in our immunity. And I definitely, when that tends toward like my body reacting to things, like when it starts getting dusty or when there's changing of seasons and things like that, is I'll see it on that, spectrum of immunity. But I know by doing this, I can then take my points and, as you see on this one, that kind of looks like the device, it'll actually plug in these, they're very close to meridians in acupuncture, but I can program in, for example, this ER11, and I actually took my whole protocol and put it onto the device earlier. So you can see my whole protocol, I can put it onto this device, and then I just push the start button, and now you can see it's counting down. So I can hold this, the two metal bars, just up against like my stomach and just hold it there. Or if I'm sitting, I can sit on my lap and receive those frequencies. That's the bioenergetic part, but it's also interacting with my body. That is how I would use that part of it. I also like, and you'll see these meridians are points that maybe stuck in certain places, and it's kind of like acupuncture, right? Is we're opening up maybe some of those blockages by using frequency. The other part in here, I'm going to set this down now, is the mind body screen, is another one I have people look at and just glance. So mine were clear. I'm not seeing any purple or oranges, except for that one at the bottom, that chill that I already looked at under the stars. And then under this one is the life journey. I like to look at transformations because, for example, it's labeled honesty, but really this is like the throat chakra, and how are we expressing ourselves? How are we receiving? There's different ways of looking at these. Are we balanced? Or are there things that we're needing to say or share or do? And this is a big part of where I'm at right now, is sharing, what are people wanting to receive? What are people wanting to learn about that I have, and learning how to communicate that. as well as receiving the feedback. So this is definitely an area of focus for me, is like using my voice to share and serve. And so I understand. It's also, interesting because I mentioned I took this morning when I was feeling kind of frustrated, and take a breath as I'm like, my kids are chasing each other, particularly my little boys, of like, okay, how do we express this with honesty and kindness, and um, being able to move through those to where everybody is supported, including myself. So this is the other part I have people look at: life journey transformations. The parts in between, environment, nutrition, I don't have people focus on those. We'll look at them just to kind of show you. It'll highlight different, vitamins, nutrients. But again, that's not diagnostic. I look at patterns for these to see what is expressing in your body. What are you noticing? And does it correlate with any of these that keep coming up over time, is how I use these. And interesting. So two things coming up since glutathione and glutathione peroxidase comes up. This is actually another really big area that I am focused on right now and learning more about. Glutathione is the master antioxidant in our body. And so how do we support this? And I actually didn't look at the section until right now. So we get it, and it is supported through antioxidants, but there's only a few food sources where we can actually get glutathione from, or the precursors from, especially cysteine. So one of the main ways that I'm doing this, and I'm not regular with it, I tend to support, family first, but this shows me I probably should do it regularly for a while as well, especially now that I'm picking up with working out more and trying to get in. I did I don't remember if it was 5 or 6 days in a row between yoga and running and stairs and bike, as I'm trying to prepare for another triathlon, that I also need to be mindful of, am I repleting my glutathione that is going to help my cells remain healthy and clear out and build as I'm working through that. So the main way that supporting with this right now is through Immunocal. It's a whey protein isolate that comes in individual packets. So glutathione is very reactive. So most supplementation and things like that are very difficult to get to where it actually does something in the body. But if we give it the cysteine, then our body can take and do that with it what it needs. N-acetylcysteine is another way they do this, and they'll actually do this to help save people with like drug overdoses in hospital settings, high doses of IV. But NAC is not something that is generally long-term sustainable, but it can have great effects, especially as we saw a little bit a while ago, that immune balancing. So this is when I'll be more mindful as I'm seeing this, but I also will look at patterns and see, is this because today is like my first rest day in a while, of what that looks like. And then we already kind of looked at the mind body. You can also go further into the mind body under emotions and brain for performance, and then look at different aspects within that. So I hope this was helpful in being able to see what this looks like. Hi, buddy. Careful, Ruger's right below me. So this, again, as I'm scrolling down to, is I can look at these patterns, and I think this doesn't show up unless you are like me, the practitioner. It will show me different patterns of different ways to break the skin down, or break the scan down. I was looking at skin as I was saying that. So that as a practitioner, I can see and get a feel for like, what is the main area of focus. Several of my videos lately have been talking about, breaking things down, and how do we figure out where to focus on in the body? Because within our body, we might have all these different diagnoses and we have all these things, but really it's going to come down to like the cells. How healthy are our cells? And through like that senolytic cleansing, clearing out those old zombie cells, rejuvenating, the 6 M's, the minerals, the microbiome, mitochondria, cell membranes. Let me see if I can think of all of them. I'm going to be missing a couple, but how do we use those then to put them into your protocol to figure out what are the core systems? And this can give us clues as well. So that is how, as looking at from a bioenergetic perspective, things that I'm looking for and how I use the scan and what it can look like as we're going through. Let me stop sharing the screen here. So I hope this is helpful. If any of you would like to, if any of you would like to scan, it's free to be able to scan. You can see your scan every 5 days, and then you have the choice. You can read through and find, the affirmations to use. You can keep looking at your patterns of what systems keep coming up to see how you can then support yourself. And then you can also go to the next level, like supplementation or infoceuticals, or doing the frequencies through somebody who may be near you who has a device, or getting your own device. So lots of options. I hope this is helpful in looking at the whole body, and take care. And I look forward to hearing your feedback.